Okay, everybody, I have an amazing guest today. I have got John Lamerton coming on the podcast. He describes himself as a normal bloke from Plymouth who has had more success than he ever dreamed or deserved. Whoa, what do you mean? He credits his success to becoming a routine machine and following the simple, everyday plan to achieve his goals that requires neither superhuman effort nor natural-born talent. Do you know what? With that bio, I've just read the bio. With that bio, what other introduction can I do? Well, I'll tell you what. Let me just give you my introduction for John. I first came across John when I read his book, Big Ideas for Small Businesses. And boy, did it change the way I think about business, the way I think about certain things. And again, what I did was I started Googling, because when I love a book, I Google the author, try to find out where they are. And I couldn't believe that John was from the UK. And I personally got in contact with him, first of all, through LinkedIn. And John was such a nice guy. He had time for me, and that went a long way. And eventually, through messages and stuff, we ended up speaking on the phone for over an hour. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that an author was willing to take that much time out of his day to spend with me and talk to me. And that just meant the world to me. And then our relationship grew. And I don't think he'll call it this, but I like to call it as a friendship. And then when I started this podcast, you know what? He was one of the first people that I wanted to reach out with, because now he's done a second book called Routine Machine. And I have routines in my life, but I could definitely improve on that area. And it was just a phenomenal chat. I really enjoyed it. And I'm sure whatever part of business, whatever part of entrepreneurship, whatever, even if you haven't got a business, you will get something from this bloke, because it's all about routine, and routine is the key to success. And John goes through it. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now. All I've got left to tell you is that if you do enjoy this episode, please rate and review. Don't forget, we have an episode every single day. We come at you with some motivational content. That's the best way I'm going to put it. So don't forget to subscribe and have a look every single day. We're coming at you with some sort of motivational content that can make you better today than you were yesterday. That's what we're all about. That's what I'm all about. Anyway, here is John Lamerton. Do you know what? I really enjoy talking to him. It's just like talking to an old mate. And I appreciate you, John, for coming on. Dean, I know what you're thinking. Shut up and let him speak. And I keep saying that because I love talking. Right, I promise you, I do let John speak more than I speak. I promise you. Okay, enjoy the episode. Here is John. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome John Lamerton to the podcast. John, thank you so much for your time, buddy. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Dean. It's great to be here.
No problem at all. So, John, if you could tell the listeners a bit about you, what you do, and give us a glimpse of your personal life, that will be awesome.
Cool, definitely. So I probably shouldn't be here talking to you today, because this is for motivated entrepreneurs and business owners. I'm not supposed to be an entrepreneur. I'm not supposed to be a business owner. I set out to be a civil servant back in the day, 20 odd years ago. And that was the career I was meant to have. One slight problem though, I hated it. Absolutely hated being a dull, boring civil servant. I wanted to do marketing. I wanted to run a business. So yeah, I self-taught myself how to run an internet marketing business back in the early 2000s, back when the press was full of Brent Holdman, Martha Lane Fox, all the guys basically having ideas and making millions. And I thought, do you know what? I've got ideas. I'm a young lad. I can work hard. I can do this. So yeah, my first business was an internet marketing business. 3 problems to that. Number 1, I'd never run a business before. Number 2, I knew nothing about marketing. And number 3, I didn't have access to the internet. So other than those 3 small things, I was able to self-teach myself how to run a business, how to do marketing, and drum roll, spoiler alert, I am now on the internet in the year 2020.
Yeah. Awesome. So only 3 small problems there, John.
Yeah, exactly. It was, small barriers for me to get over, I think.
Absolutely. So what keeps you motivated now then? What really keeps you going, and how do you stay consistent every single day now?
I'm a bit famous for keeping consistent every day. It's what I'm kind of best known for. And it's interesting you say this, because you can't obviously see my desk here, but it's a clutter of paper. So I am the most regimented, organized, disciplined person ever, with the most uncluttered, disorganized desk. But on my desk here, I've got my 90-day goals. And every 90 days, I plan out 3 things that I want to achieve. And I've got all of my old goals sat on my desk here, dating back to March 2015.
Wow.
And the very first one on top here, I've got, why are you doing this? What are the 5 reasons that you are wanting to achieve these goals? Why do you want to do this? And just that's always in my vision. Why are you doing this? Having those 5 whys. So for me, it's family, it's fun, it's positivity, it's security, and it's freedom. Those are the 5 drivers for me that keep me going. When it's time to jump out of bed in the morning and work hard, and I'm not a fan of the word hustle, but when it's time to hustle and it's time to do the hard work that's necessary, why do I do it? Well, it's because I've got that strong desire to look after my family. It's because I can have a lot of fun running my businesses. It's because I've got a chance to inject some positivity into the world. I can create my own security by actually crafting my business, and that gives me the freedom. And if I think you've read one of my first books, Big Ideas for Small Businesses.
I've read both books.
There you go. I talked about my ideal job description, and I said, my ideal job description is to do what I want, when I want, how I want, where I want, if I want. And that's what freedom means to me. It's just that complete freedom that I choose what I do on a daily basis. I choose how I do it, and I choose the difference that makes in the world.
I love it. And I can absolutely guarantee that John does not like the word hustle. I remember telling you about a podcast called Hustle and Flowchart. I said, John, you really got to listen to this podcast. It is really, really good. And your first words were back to me, well, I don't know if I like it because it's got hustle in the title. I'm like, oh, no. It's not really about that at all. These guys, I don't even know what to call themselves, Hustle and Flowchart. But I'm exactly like you. After reading your book, the first book, what was it? Big Ideas for Small Businesses. That's how I first got in contact with you. I was reading it and I genuinely thought, oh my God, this guy, it's perfect. It's exactly what I want to achieve as well. So that's how I first got in contact with you. And then obviously your next book was Routine Machine as well. And if I'm honest, I get a lot of stuff done, but I'm a person that does need structure, because if I don't have structure in my life, after reading your book, that massively helped me, because I'm the sort of person who's like doing one thing and all of a sudden I'll get a notification, and then off I go down that tangent, and half an hour later I'm like, oh no, come on Dean, drag yourself back to this one. So can you just talk to us a little bit about routine, John, and why it is so important? Because I'm a testament for that.
Definitely, yeah. I almost stumbled on the importance of routine. It's always been important to me, but I didn't realize just how much. And maybe this is the old civil servant in me that loves and craves routine. It wasn't until I was on a podcast a couple of years ago when I was doing the podcast promotion rounds for the first book. And I went on this podcast and this guy was drilling me about, well, how do you actually market your business? What do you do? What does a typical day look like? So I explained, I do this every third Tuesday. This happens every single day of the week without fail. This happens on the last working day of the month. If this happens, I do this. And he said, oh, for you, John, I think the routines are key. You're like the king of routine. And within a minute, my head had exploded. I was like, oh, yep, that's me. I am the king of routine. So I went back to our coaching clients and said, right, you are now to refer to me as the king of routine. And one of my guys runs a business printing custom t-shirts. And unbeknownst to me, about 5 days later in the post, I see this package. I'm like, what on earth is this? Open up, it's a t-shirt in the style of my book, Big Ideas for Small Businesses. And it's got the words King of Routine on the front. There's a little crown there. So I wore that with pride. And yeah, it suddenly realized after, and this would have been, I'd been running businesses for 18 years by this point. And it wasn't until one podcast host said to me, oh yeah, routine's quite important to you, isn't it? When I realized that routine isn't quite important to me. Routine is everything to me. Every time I have failed in business, it's where I've gone chasing stuff, the random stuff. It's where I've deviated from the plan. When I 10x'd my business back in 2013, and how did I do that? I did that with one sheet of paper, which was basically a flow chart. It was a checklist. And it was every day, do this. If this happens, do that. And that one routine of following that process on a daily basis 10x the business. And absolutely everything I've done, all the success I've had, has come from outsourcing. And this is where I think the key thing with routine is, it's outsourcing the hard work to automation. I don't think about what I have for breakfast in the morning. I don't think about half of the marketing I do for my business. I don't think about, because it happens on autopilot. I very deliberately design what the routine is going to look like, but actually following that routine, it's handled and outsourced automatically. It happens on autopilot, just as you would tying your shoelaces, which trouser leg you put on first, or, which way you get out of bed in the mornings.
Yeah, going back to your first book, I think that why I really resonated so much is because at the minute there's so much about, well, not at the minute, I think it was more a year or two ago when people like Gary Vee, and by the way, I love Gary Vee, and I think he's changed how he actually says hustle, and you've got to do you, he says now, instead of like hustle, you've got to work between 7 and 2 a.m. And the reason I gravitated towards you and your book was because you was completely different. You actually said, no, do you know what? You don't have to hustle. You don't have to grind. You actually take your kids to school, pick them up, and there's a window of like 6 hours where you get shit done there.
Yeah.
And that for me was the aha moment, if I'm honest, with that book. And that's why I got in touch with you and gravitated to you, because it was so nice to see a different opinion.
It is. For example, we're recording this in lockdown. We're not allowed to go to the gym at the moment. So my gym is outside of my office window here. I've got a flight of stairs, 13 steps. So my workout today is running up and down those stairs for 20 seconds and then resting for 40 seconds. It's intervals. So we're all familiar with interval training. Why don't we do interval business growth? Why don't we do interval marketing? Why don't we do intervals personal development? Rather than landing at your desk and let's do 14 hours of hustle, how about let's land at your desk, do 90 minutes of hustle, and then take half an hour off and go and play in the garden with the kids, and play with the dog and watch a movie and just take some downtime, and then come back and do another 90 minutes of hustle if you might. And you can tell I really don't like that word hustle.
Your face tells a story. You're like cringing with it.
It's almost a gritted teeth. Hustle.
Yeah, I've got a book called The Mastery Journal from JLD, and basically what he says, you try to achieve 4 different things a day, only 4, and you can spend. It's called deep work, so you can have 45 minutes of deep work, 15 minutes off. It's like after I finish here, I'm going to take a walk down to the local Tesco's. I'm going to buy a nice kind of Diet Coke, and I'm going to walk back. It's literally, and I'm going to listen to podcasts on the way. It's probably going to take about half an hour, but I feel like I've earned that because we've done this interview. I've done another interview today, and it's you don't have to just consistently kill yourself, because at the end of the day, the returns and investments are diminishing all the time. The work you get done between 9 and 12 o'clock at night are probably going to be the poorest work you do in that whole day.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to come back energized from Tesco, aren't you?
Exactly. Yeah, of course I am. Even though with a diet, I'm trying to cut down on Diet Coke, and I just bloody love it, don't I? So, in terms of your first book, then, John, where did the idea come from, and why did you think, do you know what? I'm going to write a book?
It's one of those things that I'd been told several times. I used to blog a lot, like 10 years or so ago, and lots of people said to me, "Oh, you've got some great stories here." Many of them had tragic endings with my early businesses, but there was lots of lessons to be learned. And people kept saying to me, "You've got some great stories here, John. You really need to get this out." And I don't want to be one of these gurus. I don't want to be an expert. I don't want to be a thought leader. And eventually it got to the point where I'd actually exited one of our businesses back in 2016 and actually had some spare time on my hands. So I thought, well, people keep telling me I need to write a book. Why don't I just see if I have got a book in me? Because otherwise it's that itch that never gets scratched. People keep saying to me, you need to do this, you need to do this. And I want to do this. And I'd like to be a best-selling author. That sounds kind of cool.
Sounds cool.
But I don't really want to do it. And again, is it fun? Does it give me the security I need? Does it give me the freedom I need? Will it take me away from the family? And I thought, do you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to get this done. I'm going to treat this as a project. We mentioned about phones going off earlier, didn't we?
You're all right. Sure. I'm moving my door as well because the building outside as well. So
yeah, so I decided to treat it as a project, as a finite project, and say, right, I'll tell you what, you can have 6 months. There's no other demands on your time now. You've exited the business. You've got spare time for these next 6 months. Write a book, launch a book, see what happens. And I put the book out there and thought, okay, we then had this moment where I just thought, is anybody going to read it? Is anybody actually going to buy it? Are people going to like it? Are they going to hate it? And then all my friends bought it. I thought, well, that's great. All my friends left me nice reviews. That's great. And then one day I got a review from someone I didn't know. And I'm like, oh my God, someone I actually don't know, a stranger, total stranger, has actually bought my book and found it useful. And that was such a moment for me because it was a bit of a leap into the unknown as to, do I have something to say? Do I actually have anything of value to offer here? And here we are now 3 years later, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've got 150 odd 5-star reviews, and we've sold 20,000 copies or something. Blasé about it, but it still lights me up every time I get an email from someone saying, oh, I've just discovered your book. I've just listened to your audiobook. Oh my God, it's changed my life. Oh my God, it's changed my thinking. I'm now doing X as a result of reading your book. Yeah. And those are the ones I really like, because I get emails from people who say, oh, I've read your book. It was really inspirational. And I hit reply and I go, that's great. What have you done as a result of reading the book? Oh, I've started reading another book. Great. What have you done? What have you actually changed in your life as a result of reading this book? And I use this line. I keep coming back to this in Routine Machine. So it's a Game of Thrones reference for those who are throne addicts. Sam Tarly cures Sir Jorah Mormont of the grayscale disease by basically spending a bit of a montage of an episode reading loads of really old books in a library and discovering that within these massive, massive tomes, there is the answer to how to cure this incurable disease of grayscale. And eventually these wise elders sort of surround him and say, Sam, how did you do this? And he looks a bit sheepish and goes, well, I read the books and followed the instructions. And that was it. And for me, that was that mic drop moment that as business owners and as entrepreneurs and influencers, we read all these books, but do we follow the instructions? Do we actually do anything with the information that we've got? Or do we just go, that was a lovely book, that was really inspirational, right, on to my next title?
Yeah, do you know what? There's two things that I want to pick up on there, because especially the Reddit, and I'll go into that in a second. Yeah. But for number one is you took a leap of faith into the unknown, and you know what? You don't know, but people, we're capable of so much. And the problem is people don't get out of their comfort zone. Was I comfortable setting up this and doing a podcast? No, absolutely not. And people just don't know what they can do if they never ever try. And the fact that you took the leap of faith and you know what, I'm going to do it, I'm going to try it, and I'm going to put it out there. And I urge people to get out of their comfort zone so much more, because that's where the magic happened. The comfort zone is great. Yeah. The couch is always there for you. But you know what? Nothing magical ever happens on the couch. So you've got to get up there and you've got to do something. And if you don't, you never know what's going to happen. And in terms of books, this is why now I do a book review every single Saturday on this show. Because I remember you saying to me, yeah, but Dean, you've read all these books, but can you actually... I think it was in your book. You didn't actually say it to me personally. Can you actually remember anything about that book or something? And I started looking through my fingers and I've read it. It said I finished it, but I genuinely can't tell you anything about this book. So now what I do is I take notes. I've got 5 questions I ask myself about every single book now, and I just write myself little notes, and I spend 10 minutes doing a book review. And I genuinely enjoy the books more, because when I knew you was coming on the show, I went back to my notes on Routine Machine. I thought, oh, thank goodness, there they all are. There's my takeaways. And such as what one of the, like 1/3 of UK lottery winners go bankrupt and stuff. And, you know, so I took all them notes, and winning the lottery actually gives you more chance of going bankrupt in the UK. And I was like, oh yeah, it's a great little stat. And just looking up them sort of things. So Instead of going Reddit, you've got to take action. The biggest idea, the best idea, it doesn't mean anything whatsoever. It's all about taking action. I've got a friend who's got all these ideas and but he never ever takes action on it. You've got to take action because there's no money in ideas. There's money in the action. You've got to be an action taker.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes, I think I used it in Big Ideas, was from Derek Sivers. Yeah. And he said, if more information were the answer, we'd all be billionaires with perfect abs.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. We all know how to get the six packs, but we just don't take action. So, because you actually now have got the 1% Club as well, so you actually teach entrepreneurs as well and coach. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely, yeah. This was born out of, again, the book. So if I hadn't have launched the book, the 1% Club would not exist. We'd not be talking right now. I started off. I'd been in many, many mastermind groups and business growth groups and entrepreneur groups for about 10 years before releasing Big Ideas. And when it first came out, a few local guys said to me, can you help me? Can you actually mentor me and guide me through this? I said, oh, tell you what, no worries. What we'll do, we'll meet up once a month around my kitchen table. And every month I'll give you some homework to do. I'll teach you some stuff. We'll do a kind of round the room. There'll be some accountability. So I'll find out, because again, most people know what they need to do to achieve their goals, to grow their businesses, lose weight, whatever the goals are. Most people know what they need to do. The problem isn't knowing what to do. The problem is doing what you know you need to do. Yeah. And so we just had that little bit of accountability, a little bit of education, a little bit of networking, a little bit of, sometimes people need an arm around the shoulder and sometimes they need a kick up the arse.
Yep.
And we just gave these people this around my kitchen table. Probably 2016 we started that. And I think the first month I had 6 people around the table. And then the next month we had 8. And then the next month we had 12.
It was a big kitchen table.
It was an extendable table. And I think by the final month we had 17 in the room. And I say in the room because they couldn't fit around the table, but we deployed the benches, the emergency chairs, the foldable, stackable, computer chairs that I used to have when I was a teenager. And it got to the point where okay, we kind of need to expand this somehow and turn it into a proper thing. And again, this was a leap of faith into the unknown. I didn't set out to create an entrepreneur's accountability and coaching group. I set out to help a few people, and then a few people told their friends and a few people to their friends. It was never going to be a thing. It was never a business. It was me scratching my itch of, I want to help business owners compete with the big boys. Helping small businesses is a big, big passion of mine. I love seeing the little guy going up against the big boy. I'm David versus Goliath. I love those sort of battles. And eventually we outgrew the kitchen table. We moved to a pub. We outgrew the pub. We're now trans global. I don't know if that's even a word, but we've got, it's all online. We did this before lockdown, thankfully, but we're all online. So we've got members we've got quite a few in Spain, actually. We've got a little hub of expats there. We've got members in Denmark, in New Zealand, in Australia, America. So it is all over the world helping people out. And it's the same format pretty much that it was when it was around my kitchen table. It's okay, let's find out what you need to do. Let's give you the education that you need so that you know what to do. Let's give you some structure and some planning tools so that you can plot out what you need to do. And then let's make sure you bloody well do it.
Yeah, I'm a big believer for accountability. For example, I know what I need to do for podcasting. I took every single podcasting course that there is. I spent so much money on podcasting. So if somebody asked me my advice to grow a podcast, I could help you grow a podcast. But the problem is, it's taking your own advice. And so I've got a podcast mentor that I pay £500 every 2 weeks just for an hour telephone call. And all he does is give me 3 things to do. And I do them 3 things, and it moves my podcast on massively, because when you're inside the jar, you can't read the label. And so he helps me read the label. I've got Dan Bradbury, who I meet. It's a mastermind. We all meet once a quarter. And then he asks for 5 things what we're going to achieve that next quarter. And then I get things done, because if I don't, I've got to tell the room why I didn't do it. And I feel absolutely shit about myself. And so there's no way I'm not going to do it. I know what to do in the gym. I know you lift weights and you get bigger muscles. But I don't consistently go. So I pay somebody else to train me 3 times a week. And if I didn't pay that, if I didn't do that, because I know I'm like most people, we all know what to do. But the problem is actually taking action and actually doing something, actually getting off that couch, getting off a comfort zone, and actually doing something. And that is a big problem that most people have. And I am one of the biggest culprits. But I recognize it, so I pay someone else to help me do it.
Exactly. And that's, you're getting a great return on investment for that, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Massive. It changed my life. Do you know if anybody asks me what's the biggest needle mover in my life, it is finding people where I want to be and paying them to help me. And just and keeping accountability, paying my courses I buy, my books I read, and it's educating yourself and actually just finding mentors. We're okay to pay money to go to college, university, but then people seem to scoff at the idea of paying somebody to have being around your table. And so people scoff at the idea and people laugh at you for doing it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're paying all that money at university.
$9,000 a year for media studies instead.
Sorry?
$9,000 a year tuition fees for media studies instead.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just feel like you've got to invest in yourself. That's one of my lines that I go to is spend more time working on yourself than you do any other part of your job, as anything. Just you work on yourself, because it's the best return on investment that you will ever get. So in terms of your 1% club, then what sort of clients do you work with? Is it internet-based clients mainly?
Yeah, it tends to be a lot of online businesses. Obviously, my background is in a lot of online sort of .com businesses, e-commerce, not so much e-commerce, more lead gen, community building online resources. And so we tend to attract a lot of people who've got web-based businesses. There's traditional businesses in there as well. We've got accountants, we've got solicitors, we've got dog walkers. But I would say we don't attract, it's going to sound really good, we don't attract normal people. It's funny, I was having a call with someone earlier, and we were talking about accountants, and I said, you've got accountants that is your traditional accountant that you think of. If you think, if I said to you, picture a traditional accountant, pinstripe suit, very straight-laced. Exactly. The guys we do are, they're more familiar with terms like tripwires and funnels and webinars and opt-ins and lead bait. And it's like, that's the sort of accountant I work with. I don't work with the accountant that's, it's all about the numbers, and it's numbers are very important, but it's the marketing side of things is really where that's what lights me up, is being able to put evergreen marketing assets in place in someone else's business. I love doing it for myself. I love nothing more than creating these evergreen assets for my businesses. Yeah. But you give me 10 minutes with someone else's business, and I've got 15 ideas for assets they can deploy in their business based on stuff that I've done that I know works.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what, I've just shook my pen. It doesn't matter what business then it is, because you have the marketing tools essentially to drive traffic and drive eyeballs, etc., to their offer, to their business, whatever it may be.
I think there's very few businesses that we are not able to help, because ultimately most businesses, if they want more customers, then there's a system for delivering those customers. And my job is to find out what that system's going to be. If there's an operational side of things, well, I'm not an operator, but thankfully my business partner is an operator. So actually, if you need systems and processes setting up in your business, and that's what you need, then that's taken care of. And if you haven't got that, then you've got the community, you've got the mastermind of the other 20, 30, 40 people that you're going to get on a coaching call, who will all help you. And this is the one thing I think I found, certainly with our group, is there's no ulterior motives. There's no one in that group who is in it for themselves. Perfect example. There was a guy announced in the Facebook group last night, like about 11 o'clock last night, oh, I'm launching my new course on Thursday. And I just realized that I've forgotten to create a sales page on the website for it. I don't know what I'm doing. Help. And immediately 3 people have gone, yeah, I'll knock one up for you. No charge, just, yeah, I'll do that for you. Because they know that he'll then do something else for them. And there's so much help. When we weren't locked down, we've had people driving an hour and a half, 3 hours across the country just to meet up with someone else because they were struggling and they needed help. And honestly, the camaraderie we've seen there, you don't get this in a lot of groups. Most groups I've been part of, you get an element of it. You get some people who are absolutely fantastic for the group, but most people are there because they're paying to be there, so they want a return on investment. What we see with our 1%ers is a real camaraderie, and it is the tide that lifts all ships.
Yeah. But it stems from the top, though, doesn't it? It stems from you and how you are with other people, and people get it from the leader of a group, and then they almost see how you behave, and then they replicate that behavior.
Yeah. Again, I think a lot of that comes down to because this was never meant to be a thing. It was always, and is still treated as, my hobby that scratches my itch to want to help small business owners. And yes, there's a fee to take part in it.
Yeah.
Versus, sorry. Go on.
I was just saying, the one thing I'm grateful for you for is the balance, and you clearly bring balance into the 1% group as well, because I think you all went to Alton Towers. I don't know if I saw.
Oh, yes.
And you went to Alton Towers, and it's great because people have got to be reminded that almost your personal life and your business life, they come hand in hand. You can't really do well in one and then neglect the other, because then it's not balanced. And so I believe I'm a real big believer now that you have to have a balanced lifestyle instead of just burning the candle at one end, neglecting other areas of your life. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. That was the fun box very much ticked off, taking everyone to Alton Towers. And it's just a lovely feeling. We do it every year. Hopefully we'll be able to do it this year.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get a look, yeah.
It's one of those things. I love roller coasters. I love having fun. I love spending time with small business owners. So why not combine the two? And then do you know what? It's tax deductible.
Everybody wins. Do you know what? I'd be one of these people that I'd be absolutely nervous as hell going, because I've got to pretend I like roller coasters. I've got to go on all the big rides, and I'd be absolutely terrified. So,
we have got a lot of people who don't like roller coasters. We said, look, it's fine. You can come along. We've got professional bag holders. You can hold all the bags. We'll go on the roller coasters. It'll be fine. And we do have more sedate things as well. We're looking at spa days and a 5-star hotel break and a golf tournament at some point. None of which is likely to happen this year now, because we've stopped the world.
Yeah, exactly. So where do most of your customers hear about you then? Did it come through your book then? Is that where most people hear about you?
Yeah, it is. Most of the time it's the book. If it's not the book, it's the podcast. But traditionally, I would say probably 80% of people come into my world via the book. And this is, again, that, without having that one project 3 years ago, or 3.5 years ago when I started to write it, without deciding, screw it, I'm going to give this a go as a project, not as this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm becoming a business coach. Yeah. This was in the gaps between running businesses, because I've just exited one. I'm going to write a book and see what happens. Now I've written a book, people want me to coach them. Okay, how is that going to fit in? And again, this is the balance. How is this going to fit in with me running my main businesses? Because this is not going to be my main business. I'm not going to be that guy who is on stage 6 days a week at the bloody Holiday Inn Express outside of Heathrow, having to flog seats at however much a time, because I've created this monster that has to be big. I want balance. I want a lifestyle. I want to work when I want, where I want, how I want, doing what I want. And so it's crafted and designed from the start to be a project, a thing. This will be a book. This will be something around my kitchen table. We'll go to Alton Towers once and see if we like it. And then there's other projects that I've done that were stopped because either I didn't like them, they didn't serve me, they bombed. The customers didn't like them, the marketplace didn't like them. And I've just kept doing the things that serve me that work, and I've stopped everything else that doesn't.
Do you know, this is a perfect segue into one of my favorite questions then. So what have been the biggest needle movers in your business? What is a 20% of effort that has got you 80% of your results? Writing the book could be one of them, because you're putting the effort up front, and it's evergreen. It brings you customers.
I think it is. I mean, I refer to the books as the best business card I've ever had.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The first business card I had, Vistaprint jobby, right? What's my name? What's my email address? What's my phone number? That was quite easy to come up with. Writing 70,000 words and putting it in a book took a few months longer, but it's paying dividends now. I think the biggest needle mover for me, and the big pivotal moment that I talk about in Big Ideas, was having kids, because that was the mindset shift for me. Because before children came along, and this is like 11 years for me now, I was Mr. Hustle. I was Gary Vee's protege before anyone knew who Gary Vee was. And it was that moment, sat in an MOT garage with a newborn baby at home, reading Alan Sugar's autobiography, because I was emulating Lord Sugar. I was going to be the next host of The Apprentice. I was going to have the skyscrapers and the yachts and the helicopters and everything. And I read this one line from the book, and it said, I never really saw my kids much when they were growing up. And like a sledgehammer to my heart, was like, I don't want that. Everything that I thought I wanted, I don't want. And so having that mindset shift forced me to say, okay, right, screw this, screw the 100-hour weeks. I'm gonna 80-20 the hell out of this. And Jack's in nursery a couple of days a week. I'm gonna do the school runs. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be daddy daycare every Wednesday. No work at all. I am not going to do any work on a Wednesday. That's daddy day. So that day's blocked out. And all of a sudden I thought, right, I'm 80-20ing this. I'm doing 100-hour weeks. That leaves me 20 hours. I've got to do the 80% or the 20% of stuff that brings in 80% of the results in that time. So all of a sudden, what moved the needle was removing everything else that didn't move the needle, or didn't move the needle enough. Yeah. And I had to throw out stuff that worked, but didn't work well enough. And as I said, eventually what that led to was one sheet of paper. Yeah. And one sheet of paper, which was a flow chart that said, John, every day, do this. That's it. James Franco talks not about 80-20, he talks about 4-64, doesn't he? The 4% that gives you 64%, or the 1% that gives you 50%.
Yes.
That's what that was. I distilled that down to one sheet of paper and said, John, yeah, you're going to do other stuff. Yes, you're going to have time to do other stuff, but this one thing, do that above all else. Do that religiously. Do that every single day without fail, and then worry about other stuff.
Yeah. Do you know, it's interesting you say about Lord Sugar and that one line, I didn't see my kids much. There's no right and wrong for me. If that's what you want to do, if that's what you're passionate about, brilliant, you do you. But in terms of me and what myself growing up, my dad, he had a very, very successful company and exited for a large sum. And the problem is, when I was growing up, I actually thought my granddad was my dad. Because wow. My dad, mum was born on the council estate, my dad was born on the council estate, and they've literally had to claw their way up and work like bloody hell to get out of it. And I fully respect my dad for that, because that's what he had to do. But the offshoot for that is that when I was growing up, I thought my granddad was my dad, because my granddad was always there looking after me. And I definitely admire my dad for that, because of he's given us the opportunities in life, and he's done amazing, successful things. But then I looked at that and thought, you know what? That's great. And my dad might not have had a choice, but luckily, thanks to my dad, I do have a choice. And my choice is that I want to be there for my son. My son's first day back at nursery today, and he finishes at 4:00, and I'm going to make sure I pick him up. I took him to there at 9:00 because I wanted to make sure that I took him there as well. And I just feel like that in life, there's so many people listening to different areas and different experts, but you've got to do what suits you. You can't just follow somebody because that's what their advice is. It's got to be right for you. And me personally, what's right for me is to make sure that I see my kids as much as possible. During lockdown, I've only worked, like I mentioned to you pre-interview, but I only worked up until about 12, 1 o'clock because I know the wife she was having 2 kids and it was stressful as anything. And I wanted to make sure that I was there for her during lockdown, afterwards as well. I could come back home and we could all look after the kids together, enjoy garden time and stuff like that. And so I had to 80-20 what I was doing. And it made me realize that I don't have to work that much to get the results. And it's all about, for me, standard operating procedures. Everybody in my company, in the storage company, anybody could go in there. John, you could go in there. I could give you a folder and you could run a self-storage company perfectly because we've got standard operating procedures. Water plant, tick, a checklist to do everything. And I think if you put the time in up front to do that, the standard operating procedures, it makes so much difference.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, John, before I get down to the final couple of questions, can you give us one, obviously you've been the king of routine. If somebody's thinking, right, okay, how do I get more routine in my life? Could you give us a pointer, a starting point? How do we start having routine in our life?
You've already got routine in your life. You've already got the same stuff you do every day. You already recycle the same 10 items from your wardrobe, the same 10 dishes that you tend to eat anyway. You tend to go to the same restaurants. You watch the same people in the same films on Netflix all the time. You've already got routines. You already, without knowing it, you already gravitate towards routines. So the way to start, or the place to start, is to notice them. It's to just notice, what do you do that is already automatic? So when you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing you do? Just in your mind now, think, oh yeah, there we go. I open my eyes, I reach for my phone, or I reach for a glass of water. Boom, you've just made a decision there, which one you're going to do. And then you make thousands of decisions like this on a daily basis. And whether you reach for the phone, or whether you reach for the glass of water, or whether you reach for your workout clothes or whatever, I'm not going to dictate to you what your routine is going to be. You decide what you want your routine to be. What I can help you do is to find and notice that routine, consciously decide to make it different, to improve it, put it back into the machine, and then notice the results. We were talking about Oura rings before we come on, weren't we, about hacking sleep routines. And this is all I've done ever since I got the ring, was I've just gone, right, okay, what happens if I take magnesium at 10 p.m.? Boom, try that for 2 weeks. Let's see how that affects. What happens if I go out in the daylight at 9 a.m. in the morning as opposed to 3 in the afternoon? What happens then? Boom, let's see what happens. I did a boxing training, white collar boxing event, end of last year. Did not go well. I finished second. But the main takeaway I took from that was training was 8:30 till 9:30 in the evening, Tuesdays and Thursdays, every week, like a routine. Oh my God, that messed with my sleep. My sleep for the 8 weeks that I was doing boxing training was awful. It was absolutely all over the place, because all of a sudden my heart rate was spiking. We finished training at 9:30 at night. Those who know me know 9:30 at night. Where am I normally? I'm in the sauna. I'm meditating, I'm chilling. It lights are down, screens are off. All stimulus is gone. I am in nighttime, bedtime routine for my 90-minute pre-sleep routine. No, I'm not. I'm in a gym being punched in the face. Fight or flight endorphins are flowing through me. I then get home, and for some reason, maybe because I've just spent an hour being pummeled in the face, I'm a wee bit hungry. So I'm now eating later, and it messed with everything. So I got back on it, and I said, okay, that routine that I followed for 8 weeks got me into great shape. It got me ready to do a boxing match, but it's not good for my long-term health. And so I've tried that routine. It's great for my waistline. It's great for, being able to punch people. It's great for fitness, but it's not great for me running a business, me being healthy, or me actually having a longer life. So let me try a new routine. Let me try something else. And that's all I'm doing now, is I'm just Let me try swapping out my lunch for a different lunch, my breakfast for a different breakfast. Let me try walking a different way. Let me try, when I say walking a different way, I don't mean like
backwards.
Yeah, I was thinking like the school of silly walks, not Faulty Towers, what's it called? Monty Python, Flying Circus. But yeah, it's changing one thing that is going to move the needle. I mean, don't be changing. I've heard about the, is it Charlie Brown, the cartoon, said, there was a famous one. It said, I got up this morning and I've tried putting my trouser leg on left then right. I've been doing right then left for 15 years. Hasn't changed anything. I don't feel any different. But yeah, you've got to do something that's actually going to move the needle. You've got to ascertain, okay, I'm eating too many carbs. I mean, for me, like one of the main things I changed health-wise was my lunch. Lunch for me used to be beans on toast or egg on toast. Replace that with a green smoothie. Oh my God, I lost 3 stone. Wow. I changed one thing.
Yeah.
Now, ultimately, yeah, that one thing kind of led to me going to the gym 3 times a week, and then kind of led to me running a 10K, and then kind of led to me signing up for a white-collar boxing event. But I made that one decision. I'm not going to have beans on toast every day. I'm going to have a green smoothie. And I noticed the difference. And then stack these gains up. That's why we call it the 1% Club with the coaching. It's about stacking up these small marginal gains that actually do compound. And once you've got momentum on your side, oh my God, you are away.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I've just done a podcast episode about choices, and whether you make good choices or bad choices lead to more bad choices. So if you have an extra pint at night time and another extra pint, then do you know what? When you get up in the morning, you get up half an hour later, you might not have time to pack your lunch up. So therefore you'll make a bad choice at lunch. You'll get something from McDonald's maybe, and then you'll feel lethargic. And then, do you know what? Then bad choices, they go on top of each other, they compound. But the great thing is good choices compound as well. Just look at what you've just done with your beans on toast. The fact that you changed your beans on toast. And by the way, I love my beans on toast at lunchtime. Just look at that. It led to a 3 stone weight loss. It led to you going to the gym. It led you getting punched in the face and finishing second. And so good choices lead to more good choices. And so that's what it's all about for me. With my Aurora ring, it's a sleep ring for people who don't know. It maps out your sleep and just shows you your deep sleep, your REM sleep, and it really gives you a sleep score. And that has been a massive, massive difference. I've only been doing it probably about a month now, maybe 3.5 weeks. But these 3.5 weeks, I've been making a conscious choice, a conscious effort to try and go to bed earlier so I can still get up at the normal time, and then at 5 a.m. And then I get so much more done. It's like I was saying this morning, I got so much done because I got an 88 on my score yesterday, and I've never got an 88. And so, yeah, you've got to be, I just ask people to be aware of the choices they make, because I can't dictate to them what they do and when they do it. But all I want you to know is that every choice you make has consequences. And as long as you know that, and as long as you're fine with the consequences, then heck, go for it. Knock yourself out. Do whatever makes you happy. But choices do have consequences. And I love it.
They do, definitely. Just think about one of our 1%ers. We set up a consequence for him last month. So he was launching this brand new course. And he said, I need you guys to hold me accountable. He said, because I will procrastinate. He said, I am the world's best procrastinator. And so we said, okay, we'll set a little challenge for you. We said, like, what's a sum of money that would hurt you to lose? And we ended up, I think he settled on 500 quid. So we said, okay, your course will launch on X date. And if it doesn't, then you will donate £500 to the Donald J. Trump re-election fund. And we found the donation link and we posted it up there. And you know what? For the next 2 weeks, guess who received daily Donald Trump memes to his Facebook? Guess who got trumped at every opportunity? And we didn't need to say anything. We just post a new picture of Donald Trump every day. And the consequence there of, oh my God, if I don't do this, everybody here is going to force me to donate 500 quid of my hard-earned money, my children's inheritance, as Theo Paphitis would say, to Donald J. Trump. Yeah,
absolutely. And so did he get it done?
Oh, he got it done. No worries. He got it done.
So John, you have goals in your life and you set goals, etc. Where do you see yourself in 12 months time? Where do you want to be?
12 months. Oh, 12 months. I would like to be more, it sounds weird, more disciplined, more principled, but not in terms of myself, but in terms of my business. So my main business is not quite where I want it to be in terms of the processes that are set up. What I would like to do is I would like to remove myself fully from the day-to-day operations of running the business, which enables me to work through this folder of ideas that I've got for stuff to optimize the machine of the business. So there's probably, I don't know, there's a decent wad of probably 100 or more ideas in there that I want to work through in that business that I know can make a difference, that I know can improve conversion rates, retention rates, everything like that. I want to spend my days doing that. That is what's going to light me up. Running the day-to-day, not so much. That brings me down. So I need to work on the stuff that I don't want to work on. I need to work on the systems and the processes and the employee manual and what happens if this customer joins and goes on this path? Give me a marketing funnel. Oh, I'm there. I want to do that. So yeah, I think I would like to be, again, freedom. I think for me, going back to those 5 whys, for me, it's freedom, more freedom to do what I want, when I want, how I want, where I want. Where I want's a bit of a problem at the moment. I have to work from home, but that's normally my choice anyway. I'm well prepared for lockdown. I think I've been, remote working since 2006, homeschooling since last year, and self-isolating since forever.
Do you know what? I'm a lot like you. We've got a training, we've got a guide to running our business, and anybody can come in and run it. But the problem is, what we haven't got is an aerial view, just the important KPIs. And so one thing that I'm doing is I'm developing a playbook for self-storage, not to sell or anything like that. It's just for us. And I want to go into other self-storage industries, other self-storage facilities. I want to buy them, and I want to look at how they're doing and what they're doing, what marketing they're doing, what's their conversion rates, how much it costs to acquire a customer. I want to then look at mine and say, okay, right, we can improve that. We can do this. They don't do this. They don't go and, I don't know, see other businesses in the local area. We have 10 different touch points that we do for local businesses, and they don't do any estate agents. They don't see the estate agents. And so that's one of the things that's on my list next week to do, to sit down and do it. And do you know what? I'll enjoy it once I do it, but sitting down and doing it is going to be the problem. And I know that is going to have a massive return on investment on my time, because then I know that I can just plug that in. Anybody then can run my self-storage business and know what we do in terms of marketing, what figures we need for the pay-per-clicks, what we need for our Facebook retargeting, how much everything costs, and we can just plug it in and anybody can oversee it. Whereas now I'm the person who oversees everything on a week-to-week basis, and I have little columns where if it's something that I need to look at, it turns red. If all the rest of them are green, I don't need to look. The red ones I need to delve a little bit deeper in. So that's my job in the next hopefully I'll get that done in the next 3 weeks or so. So the next question for you then, John, and I believe that that it's somewhat the same then. If somebody says success, what does success mean to you?
I think it is, well, for me, it is that job description. It is doing what you want, when you want, how you want, where you want, if you want. It's not being dictated to. For some people, success is material things and, foreign holidays and fast cars and mansions and everything like that. And if that is what success is to you, then that's great. And for others, success is being there for the kids. You mentioned your dad working away. My dad worked away. He'd go away for 3 weeks at a time and I'd not see him for 3 weeks. And that's what he had to do to keep a roof over our head and put food on the table. Now, that made him successful. To me, success is I'm going to be there for my kids. I'm always going to be there. I'm going to be the dad that's there at every sports day, every assembly, every school play, opening of an envelope at school. I'll be there, Yeah. But it's from a work point of view, I want to do work that I love doing that makes a difference. People talk about, Steve Jobs famous said about putting a ding in the universe. I don't want to put a massive ding in the universe, but I want to make a difference. And for me, if I can make a difference, if I can help some small businesses, then I've made a difference in the universe. And that's what I'm happy with. It's making a difference in my universe.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And do you know what, much similar as well, because with the podcast, I got some amazing messages, and because I got another couple of podcasts as well, and I got some amazing messages from those people, from listeners, and just saying that how much they appreciate it. And I touched on something, somebody had broke up a marriage and stuff, and I was talking about that this too will pass, and the clouds will always disperse, and the sun will always come out. And somebody got in contact and said, thank you so much. I really needed that. It's made my days. Yeah. And just that little thing, I was like, I was genuinely, that day, I was genuinely happy because I felt I'd impacted somebody else's life. I didn't even know that person at all. And they got in contact, and I was like, holy shit. Do you know what? With this, the power of podcasting, social media, the videos, YouTube, you can have an impact on so many different lives, and touch and help so many different lives from your office, and don't have to leave your home. It's so incredible at the minute. So, John, I realize the time, buddy. So I've just got 5 questions for fun. 1 sentence answers. What does your perfect day look like?
Oh, it seems weird to say this now, but sitting by a pool with a Kindle. That's my ideal day.
Yeah. I'm an audiobook man myself, so I'd have my earphones in, but I'm right there with you. Give us 1 tool that you can't live without.
Can I have a tool that isn't a tool? It's pen and paper. I'm proper old school when it comes to my tools.
Well, I've got notes everywhere. And what's a daily habit that contributes to your success?
Oh, this is a new one for me, and I love this now. This came out of hacking my sleep. I got up a little bit earlier, and I started rereading my highlights from books I've read years in the past, and I'm working through my bookshelves, rereading just the highlights, and now attaching stuff that I found useful 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago to my life today. And it's making those hooks and those attachments really, really helping.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. And what's the best advice you have ever received, John?
Focus on one thing.
Oh, yeah, I love it. And recommend 1 book. And obviously it goes without saying your 2 books as well. And we'll put a link to both of them in the show notes as well.
Oh, do you know, I can't recommend 1 book. I was thinking about this when you said about, recommended about, I cannot recommend 1 book for a couple of reasons. I don't know where you are as a listener and what you need. So if you need sales, then I'm going to recommend a very different book than if you need to learn about social media or SEO. So it depends where you are. I mean, I started off on the website blogging about books, and it's like, I've got a list of, I think I started off with my top 10 books. And then my top 10 books list became my top 30 books, and it became my top 50. And I think if you go on my website now, it says the top 80 plus books. I counted them up last week, 103. So I've got a recommended reading list, but there's 103 books on there. I'm adding to them every week. And it really depends what you need to learn, and what, if you want to be inspired or motivated, that's very different than if you want something very tactical that you can implement with a specific part of your business. And ultimately, there is no, I know you said 1 sentence answers for these. I'm just remembering that now. But, I love it. It depends where you are in your business. And I think you're better off, rather than taking a blasé, everybody should read Shoe Dog because it's really inspiring. Great. Do not read Shoe Dog and think that's how to run a business, because it's not a blueprint for a business success. But people do. They take, everybody should read this book. No, everybody should really think about what is the next book that you need to read.
Do you know what, John? I think that's such a great answer, and you've actually made me feel guilty because I've just read Kevin Hart's book called The Decision.
I'm just reading that now. I'm reading that with my son. He's loving it because there's lots of swearing in it.
What a book! And I do a book review every week, and that is one of the book reviews I will be doing in the next couple of weeks. And I think I did a social media post and said everybody needs to read this book. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, John could actually have a point here, because it depends on what part of life that you are in. But you know what? To me, I know you'll love that book, because I wasn't going to read it, but it's an incredible book. I absolutely love it. Are you liking it so far?
I think we're about an hour and a half in, and I'm loving it. Because we do it as part of homeschooling. So we sit down for 20 minutes, we listen to a bit of it, and then we talk about it. So we're doing a book debrief after reading like a couple of chapters. So I think today we heard about, taking that leap of faith and going underwater and going in the cage. I ain't going in the cage. But it's about how we'd never have discovered this whole world that was underneath the sea unless somebody went, I'm strap me in a cage, lower me down into the darkness where we don't know what's down there. I'm going down there.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is a great book, and perhaps not everybody should read it, but a lot of people should read it. So, John, if people wanted to find out more about you, your podcast, your books, and all the things that you've got going on, your 1%ers Club, where would they go?
The best place is to go to the website, which is bigidea.co.uk.
Oh, that's quite a good domain, that, John. Yeah, I like that. Big idea. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Well, John, I really appreciate your time, pal, and it's gone on a lot longer than I actually anticipated. Halfway through, I was thinking, oh my God, look at the time. Oh dear, right. So thank you so much, buddy. I do appreciate you and appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, Dean. It's an absolute pleasure.